goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time. I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, the nomadic indie songstress who has stories to tell, CLOVER. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Phillip Reese.
And I am your last-minute co-host, Dan Drago from Philadelphia.
That is exactly right. And you are listening to...
Your next favorite band. You pointed to me, and I'm going to drop the ball a lot tonight,
You
Phil.
nailed it,
I just
though.
want you to know that. What did I say in the email? In the words of Whitney Houston, I'm your Dave tonight.
Yes. Which I think would be a phenomenal version of that song.
Hey, there's only one Dave, and it ain't me.
There was one David Moore. Yes, David not able to join tonight. And I just thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Too much to banter about to do it solo. And specifically, actually, we have a shared topic. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, a little bit of some house cleaning. I don't know what the right word is.
I use those terms back and forth, and I don't believe either of them are correct.
I don't think either of them are correct now that I think about it. I don't even know where that even originated from. It doesn't work.
I heard Mark Maron say it once and something I said, and he probably did it wrong too. So it's just, we're just whispering down the lane here.
That's true. Very, very true. So some of this is kind of like, hey, if you're local to the Lehigh Valley, say within an hour, we're sharing some current events. But the first one kind of also has some cool stuff to it. So even if you're farther afield, which I think I got that phrase right, this still might be of interest to people. Our local public library is very, very cool. And so they do something called 11 Fest. And so to kind of express this, so up on the screen right now is the bands. Real quick, they basically are at 11 West Church Street. And so they started to, again, Bethlehem has such amazing support of the music scene and the arts and even podcasting, that the library was like, hey, let's raise some funds and form a studio. So they have a recording studio that's available for free in the public library. Yeah. So it's called Studio 11. So they're really embracing this 11 thing. And then to raise money for it, to keep it up throughout the year, they do 11 Fest. So on November 11th, 11/11, they hire 11 bands.
Oh, cool.
And they each get the ability to play. And they actually pick it. So you'll love this part, Dan. They actually pick it so that each band gets progressively louder. So like the first one's on. Now I'll bring it back up again. So the first one's on around 5 are going to be a little bit more calm, maybe acoustic or a piano-based kind of thing. And then the ones, basically then the 11th band comes on at 11:11 at night. And but after each band, they have this like pretend dial. So it goes from 1 and then it goes, and then they turn it.
So it goes to 11.
It goes to 11.
Oh, that's the best. Oh, like if you're going to commit to a bit,
yes,
then like whole asset
Yes.
the whole way.
Yes.
Props to your library. That's Way to commit. Way to commit.
Yes, and then they ask for the suggested donation is $11, and so
Why not?
Exactly. So it's a super cool thing, and then so like maybe if you're just so inclined that you love that little bit and you think that you want to support again like people who could use a free so that what with that like local high school kids, other people or podcasters, they can go into that recording studio and do stuff. So it's a very cool offering for the community for free. And so if you want to donate $11, we'll share the link in the show notes for people to kind of participate.
I'm in for $11.
There you go. And the other show next Friday, this is the one that Next Fave Band is doing in conjunction with Underground Music Collective here in Bethlehem, is the kind of a Nashville style songwriters round with local Lehigh Valley and surrounding area artists. So up on the screen here, you can see Beautiful Distortion, Billy Bauer, Bobby Siegfried, Bronte Fall, Carly Commando of Slingshot Dakota, Chelsea Mitchell of Dirty Dollhouse, Roy and the Secret People, and Greg Adams from Tioga. All will be a part of the evening. 4 will go on stage, each play 4 songs, and then the other 4 will go on stage, each play 4 songs. Available in the Blast Furnace room of Arts Quest. It's really quite a cool thing that got kind of brought together. It was Gerard Longo's idea. He asked, because he wanted to bring, because he's based in Nashville for the last 5 years. He was like, hey, I always wanted to bring this back to Bethlehem. Do you want to kind of co-produce it? And I was like, sounds amazing. So we kind of have been working on that. And that's next Friday, the 17th. We'll probably get some, recordings of it. But actually, we did some like little mini promo interviews. And next week's episode is going to be, 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes from each of the interviews we did with all 8 artists who are a part of it. So next week is, kind of like a preview of each one of those artists. And we're looking forward to it. We're super psyched about that.
That's a really, really cool night. You had sent that to me before. I would make it up if we weren't going into like my crazy busy season.
That's right. You said you're going to be up to your elbows in turkeys.
Turkeys, yeah. Right up until Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then I get the heck out of Dodge. And it's a joy, at least being being in the butchering field, is that I'm done by Wednesday. Like Wednesday, we're done.
Right. Exactly. So, like I had mentioned, we do have something to talk about together. But before we talk, we recently turned the clocks back.
Yes.
And that we turned the clocks back on so where we're going to go to here is both Dan and I had trips to Japan.
Oh, yeah.
I got home Sunday.
I was about to ask how the time change went, not just with the general 13-hour change between,
right?
Because you leave Tokyo at 10:30 in the morning, and you arrive in the States at 8 o'clock in the morning, and
right.
It's the same day, and
it's the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: with the clocks moving back and all of that, I had no way to calculate the actual duration of what we were doing. Because we started in Kyoto, and so that was a 2-hour bullet train, a 4-hour layover, a 13-hour flight, and then an hour and a half drive home from the airport with a clock change. And then on my ride home, I start to hear that the Rolling Stones have a #1 album and the Beatles have a hit. And I'm like, how far did we effing turn the clocks back?
We went back. We went real back.
It's like a 60-year dial back. I was like, Christy, something's wrong.
Yeah. This is reverse Groundhog Day or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So,
It's so funny.
But travel slog aside,
yes.
Japan, I think we both say, was a very, very special experience.
It was remarkable. I'm still bummed at the universe, not at either of us, but at the universe, that we missed being able to hang out together in Tokyo by
we missed it
4 days.
Oh, it was so brutal.
Yep. I left on a Tuesday. Cool. I left on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you got in on a Saturday, and there was no. I mean, these things get planned in advance, people, and so
right. Yeah, it's not like you can adjust it at that time.
Yeah, but no, it was. I mean, you and I. I mean, I was sending you stuff while I was there. I was trying to soften the ground up for you and just be like, go here, don't go here. Except I experienced no thing in Japan that I would say don't do that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Everything we did was excellent.
Yes, I was saying that from the smallest ramen shop to the most expensive meal we had, everything had the same amount of care and excellence. And
I did not have a single disappointing food experience.
Nope, same, absolutely.
I say this as in my day life of coming from, I come from the food industry. I've been doing it for
Yeah,
a
that's
couple
true.
of decades. I have opinions on opinions, and I'm a huge snob sometimes.
In a good way, though. Like,
I
you're
have
discerning.
I have
Like,
standards. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. So
And
I
I
have a
didn't
couple
have a
pictures
single
here
bad thing. Yeah.
that you shared if you want to kind of
Oh, yeah,
banter a little bit
sure.
about your trip. Here's you dressed for the occasion.
This is in Hakone, which is in the mountains. It's where a lot of the traditional onsen hotels and inns are. We still opted for one with Western style beds. I was not down with sleeping on the floor. I just didn't think that was going to go well.
We
Uh,
did do that when we
How
were
how was the floor?
it was remarkably close.
To the ground? Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Well, and then when we came home, I misjudged it in a normal size bed. I actually put my feet out, expecting them to kind of hit, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
But yeah, you get used to it real quick.
Oh
But
yeah,
so
we slept in Western style beds. That's the that's like the clothing that they give you in the inn. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to wear it, but you can go to dinner
But you
dressed
have
like
to.
that.
Yeah.
Again, when we talked before about committing to the bit, if you're
Correct.
in, you're in. You just like
Mhm.
put the thing on, and it wasn't uncomfortable. It was incredibly comfortable, and I didn't feel. I thought I would feel weird about it, that it was like some sort of like cultural cosplay or
No,
something.
yeah,
And I was just like, I was trying to be respectful. I was like, well, I'm not going to dress like that. I'm not. I'm not from here. And then it turns out literally
Sure.
everyone does it.
Yeah, the respect is to do it, not to avoid it. Yeah.
In fact, you look more like a weirdo if you
Yep.
show up to dinner in regular
Western
clothing.
clothes, yeah.
So I'm glad. I was like, ain't no one gonna mistake me for Japanese.
No.
So I was like, I'll put the thing on. I had the little the belt and everything. It was
Yep.
very cool.
Very cool.
And that place in Hakone was probably top 5 meals I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just amazing.
I have one for that as well. Then this was something you did a lot of crate diving at the local record stores.
So the record store situation in Japan is insane. And this was in Osaka. And the place was amazing, kind of specialized in like different kinds of electronic and world electronic and all that. But a lot of like lounge and chill stuff. Like basically, if you're a guy like me and you like Stereolab a lot, you would love this store. New Tone Records in Osaka. Like it's my new favorite record store away from home. And the people there were excellent. There was a woman named Aya. She was about my age. We communicated as best we could through her pretty decent English, my horrible Japanese, and my Google Translator on my phone. But we discovered that we were both huge like native tongues hip hop fans. So like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Queen Latifah, all that. And she just kept bringing me records to sample, because you could sample it through. They had a whole digital system there.
Oh, wow.
Where you could just listen to samples of pretty much everything in stock. So she just kept bringing me stuff, and she knew what she was doing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then lastly, you gave me this picture.
Ah, yes. This was in Hamamatsu, which is where we took the train to Hamamatsu from Osaka. It was an hour and a half, 2 hours on the train. Hamamatsu is the home of the Yamaha Musical Instrument Museum and their innovation center. And I had to go because you can reserve like a ticket time in the museum. They let very few people into it, and half the museum is playable instruments. As you see behind me, I got guitars and amps and everything.
Yeah,
and yeah, so that was it. That met us at the train station, like right when we came out of the train station in Hamamatsu. There was that guy right there. He was fun. Best eel I've ever had in my life was in Hamamatsu.
So cool. And we are not doing this justice. Like obviously you spent a good bit of time there. We were there for 9 days, and we could spend probably an entire podcast per day, a whole episode on each what happened. But so real quick to rip through our experiences. This is the town of Nikko, which looked like something from like world building. Like it looked like something out of like a video game, because there was this beautiful lake with this town along the shore, and then this waterfall it just looked amazing. So that's me and my wife, Christy, our daughter, Gianna. She's studying abroad this semester in Tokyo. So we went basically to visit her. And then that was a 2-hour drive, like you were saying, to kind of go visit this amazing cultural site. It's
gorgeous.
Yeah.
The landscape there is like getting out of the cities and into into the country, and just seeing it's a volcanic island. So like the mountains are going to everything like it doesn't slope like in the States. This stuff literally like came up out of the ground like over the years, and it's just gorgeous. When I was in Hakone on Lake Ashi, I was getting some real like Adirondack, Lake George vibes out of it. Just all that trees and just it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It was awesome. So here was one of our best meals. It was basically like the person was a butcher. You would have loved it. It was like the chef that belonged to this restaurant took the pieces of a Wagyu beef cow, and we had basically like one bite of almost everything. So like they would come talk to you like, this is from the shoulder, and this is why we do this with it, and then this one's from the hip, and then this was the tongue, and this was the undertongue, and then this was the aorta, and I was like, but I was like, but you got to do it. So like
aorta,
aorta, and then there was a little bit of stomach, but then mostly it was the really good pieces at the end, where it was so delicious. It was amazing. Like this was basically kind of like they would bring it out to. Oh, this was a different one. This was a place that did like tofu like 900 different ways.
Oh, that looks good. Oh,
this
that was like you had your bamboo, and then your bamboo drink.
Yeah, it was basically drinking sake out of a bamboo shoot, which I just thought was pretty badass.
You gotta
absolutely.
When in Japan,
this is just a quick temple. This is called Kinkakuji Temple, and it was in Kyoto. And then lastly, this was like my favorite little thing. So this was like I don't know if this was a word I kept coming across in Japan, was balance. And so it was just something we came across, and they were like, oh, do you want to just sit down and have some matcha and a confection? And we were like, sure. So we just sat down. It wasn't something we planned. And it was like, it just blew me away with the simplicity, because the matcha is kind of bitter and the confection was like too sweet. So each one on their own would not have been a delight, but to take a bite of one and a sip of the other together at the same time, it was just like, it brought out everything. And now I sound like a weirdo, but at the same point, it was like, it was the yin and yang of the whole thing. And it was just holy cow, it was just so simple and yet so complex. And I was just like, this is what it's kind of all about. They just have such a commitment to complexity and simplicity. And it's just like, it was just everywhere.
Yeah. My favorite thing was the idea, and I experienced this not just in restaurants, but in record stores and really any kind of business, was everyone specializes. In America, I feel like we're always trying to be the big thing, a little bit of everything for everyone. And I think that can sometimes be to our detriment. What I loved is that that record store that I went to specialized in a very kind of specific niche kind of music, and they knew everything about it and had tons of options. You go to a restaurant, they make one kind of ramen from chicken stock, and that's what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
otherwise don't go to that restaurant.
Yeah,
like your choice is where to go.
Sushi. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Go to the sushi place. It's literally 2 doors down. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I went to an eel restaurant where every single protein was eel.
Right. Yes. Different types of eel. So yes, if anybody wants to hear more, stop Dan and/or I at any moment. We will be happy to talk for about an hour about it, but we got to get to our guest.
We're gonna do
one other thing I wanted to touch on, because I think it's topical and it will be a great transition into our guest for the evening, Clover. Recently, WXPN did a balloted, like you could submit your top 10 in order songs by females. And so it was, the only kind of criteria was that it was a female lead singer. And then from there, it was put in your top 10, and they're going to compile a list of the 885, because their frequency is 88.5. So it's 885 greatest songs by women. Yep. And so we're only going to list them today because we got to get to the interview. But you, me, and Nate from Yo, That's My John, I think are going to get into why we
do a little
picked
round
which ones
table.
So in the meantime, we're just going to share them, and we're going to get added all over the place, because like, how could you not put Whitney on your list? But anyway, we have method to our madness. Here's Dan's, if you want to rip through yours.
All right, so I only numbered the number 1, and everything else is just in there. But my number 1 is probably Kate Bush's "Running Up That Hill."
Excellent
that's
choice.
just one of my favorites. It has been one of my favorite songs since I first heard it as a very, very young person.
Mm-hmm.
We got "Violet" by Hole. How do you pick one whole song? I don't know. I picked that one.
Yep.
I picked "Saints" from the Breeders instead of "Cannonball" because I like "Saints" better than "Cannonball."
Love it.
"Seether" by Veruca Salt. I remember
song.
the first time I heard that on the radio, and it changed me.
Mm-hmm.
Matta Rose were a little bit of a lesser-known New York band. But I got hooked onto them from WBER in Rochester.
I was just going to say, I knew Matta Rose as well from Joey from BER. So yeah, absolutely. Your next 5.
My next 5. Betty Davis is someone I've come to over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years. Just an insanely talented and out there funk soul performer. She was a model as well. Just a wholly singular talent. Ani DeFranco, again, Western New York, Out of Range. The acoustic version, not the electric. En Vogue's "Free Your Mind." Again, En Vogue. I have loved En Vogue since I first heard them on the radio as a before teen. I was probably 9 or 10 years old the first time I heard En Vogue. Amy Mann, that was hard to pick a song, but Calling It Quits is probably up there for me and one of my favorite songs by her. And Liz Phair's Supernova was the song that hooked me into Liz Phair as a teenager, and I am and will forever be a fan. So
and Supernova was in my next 10. It was in my top 20. Didn't make my top 10. Here's my 10. Started off with Cosmic Love by Florence and the Machine, then Why by Annie Lennox, The Mummers Dance, Lorena McKennitt, Think by Aretha Franklin, Hollywood Love Song, Dirty Dollhouse, Last Day of Our Acquaintance, Sinead O'Connor, Clearest Blue by Churches, Alligator of Monsters and Men, Los Ageless, St. Vincent, and then Black Parade by Beyonce, the Queen Bee. So again, you can all send us hate letters or love letters based on that. We're going to definitely get into some of that because it was such a daunting task. It was impossible to actually do it in a way that would not leave something or multiple somethings out. And so you just had to kind of make a decision on how you were carving it down to 10 and then just go with it. So
I had to leave out Bjork. I left out Bjork. And Jay Harvey.
She was in, that's the thing is I think we'll have fun talking about how we got to that 10, but also then who did we leave out that just broke our heart? And so I'll save, some of my detail there for that. But time to get to our guest of the day. So what we will do here is bring in some music as we often do. So what we're going to do here is bring in the song Sunman by Clover so that you have a good kind of sense for her music, which is stunningly awesome. Then Dan's going to bring in some bio, and then we're going to bring on Clover and Dani Sundream. So here is Sunman by Clover. Give us the bio, Dan.
All right. Clover is a singer-songwriter currently based in Brooklyn, New York, and Frenchtown, New Jersey. Beautiful town, Frenchtown, New Jersey, by the way, right on the Delaware River. I love it. Captivating and soulful, with vocals way bigger than her body, Clover whisks you away into a world of angelic anthems, inspired by the likes of Lake Street Dive, Maggie Rogers, Florence and the Machine, Lordy, Carole King. She warmly welcomes you with a blend of soul, rock, and pop that echoes timelessness. In 2018, after graduating from Bard College, Clover was invited to participate on NBC's The Voice. She spent a month in LA filming for the show before she decided to leave prior to the premiere and fly home. This was a defining moment for Clover in her career as she realized the importance of her independence and the power of having complete control over her music and image. Right on. Since then, Clover has fluidly moved through her independent artistry with grace. In the fall of 2018, she moved to Brooklyn, where she frequently performs at New York City venues like Rockwood Music Hall, Pete's Candy Store, Pianos, and she's made appearances on WNYC's The Green Space for Next Best Thing. After releasing her debut single, This Love, in early 2020, she left Brooklyn and spent a year driving around the country to bring music to people during the pandemic through street performance with her partner, Sundream. While on the road, she started making her own sustainable merch to sell while busking. She thrifted t-shirts, naturally dyed them with plants, and learned to screen print in various places that became home. Sustainability, female empowerment, and social activism guide her music. She recently co-wrote Power for MILCK, Milk. I don't know if I spell that or say that. Featured on ABC Network for Women's History Month in March of 2022. And in August of 2023, she performed on her biggest stage yet at Musikfest in Bethlehem, PA. Woohoo! With her debut album in the works, this is just the beginning of Clover's rise as an artist.
We got the bridge here going on, and welcome to the show, Clover and Dani Sundream.
Hello. Thank you
Hello.
so much for that warm welcome.
And we're gonna let this kind of continue to play in the background for us. I always love watching the artists kind of rock out to their own music. It's fantastic.
You got to. You made
That's
it.
exactly right. But so yeah, tell us more about this song. From what I understand, you wrote it for Dani on his birthday, which was the summer solstice.
That is true. I wrote it actually like where we shot this video is where I wrote the song. We were like living in a tent in the woods in upstate New York with, you see some like backup dancers with all of those people.
Oh, that's awesome.
At the time. So I wrote this song quietly in my tent. And then, on Dani's birthday, I played it for him. And then... almost kissed, but we didn't.
It's funny hearing you talk about it with like the visual.
Yeah.
The people.
And then because I wrote it there and shared it there, we had this like amazing community of artists who helped us make this video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the story comes out all the time that like the way that I prepare for Musikfest and the 450 bands that are playing on the free stages is to put together a Spotify playlist that goes about 28 hours when you put 3 to 4 tracks per, artist on there. And always there's 7 to 10 to 20 that just jump out, and you were one of them this last year. Was when I would just listen to a track like that one, it made me want to go and find more of it. And so like then meeting you, at the stage and then asking you to come on the show was just like such a cool thing. So just so honored to have you on. So this is terrific.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And then like just to always wanting to hear some of that backstory is like the reason why we love to do this. So very cool to hear how the video was made and all that other good stuff. But yeah, I mean, we love to kind of go back into the backstory here, and that isn't your most current music, but we're going to share that, and then in the bio there, just to give people a little bit of a teaser, that this love song that really was kind of what broke through for you, we're going to play after the credits. So listen through to the whole interview and the closing credits, and then This Love will be kind of at the end there, which was a thing I stole from Dan. He actually always does that, where he plays a track at the very end of an interview. And I was like, I really like that. So that's the feature for tonight. But going before that, so like it mentioned in your bio there that you graduated from Bard College, but maybe let's roll it back a little bit prior to that. Is what was your introductions to music? Like, where did it all start for you, and where did the inspirations come from?
My household was a very musical household. Both of my parents, like actually neither of them were musicians or played music, but there was always music playing in my house. We had these speakers that looked like rocks that went out into the backyard. And so this was like pre-Sonos. This was like something my dad rigged together. And so, yeah, we always had music blasting in the house, front door open. You could hear the music from down the street. So my parents were music lovers. My dad was a DJ. And so my first introduction to music was just that it was everywhere all the time. It was present, yeah.
And any specific genre there, or any particular thing that led you to want to create?
It was all over the place. My mom loved like Joni Mitchell and more folk and R&B, and my dad, like sometimes there was like house music playing, other times it was like noise, like actual just like people like banging on metal or like scratching things, and it was kind of weird and freaky. So maybe my inspiration was like, I want to make music so that he plays what I make instead of
Stop playing that day.
Take that, John Cage, and your music concrete. Like, enough of this. What kind of DJ was your father?
He also played a little bit of everything. We currently have, we had almost 3,000 to 4,000 of his vinyl in my house right now. We are currently working on sifting through and slimming down that collection. But yeah, there's like literally everything.
Yeah, it's great. There's like Afrobeat, Latin, hip hop, ambient, like jazz. I mean, literally everything, but amazing. Like a beautiful collection. I wish I could have gone to some of the parties he DJ'd because he had good stuff.
That's
really
so
good
cool.
stuff.
That is so cool. And then, so you go to Bard College, and then you go there for music?
I went there to study music and psychology with this kind of dream of going into music therapy. Music had always been very therapeutic for me.
Sure. Right.
Like I got into songwriting and really, just like writing original music and diving deeper into it in high school. And that was a very tumultuous time for me and my family. Like my parents got divorced. And so I found this therapy for myself in songwriting. And then when I was like applying to schools, I was like, I love music so much. How can I make it a career? Not realizing that I could just like be a musician and perform. So I was like, I need to make sense of this. So and was into psychology. So I went to study music and psychology. And then after my first year, I fell like so deeply in love with performance and writing that I decided to just like do that for 4 years. And then if I ever wanted to go back to school in the future and study music therapy, I could. So I ended up studying music instead.
Yeah, that's. I mean, when the magic grabs you, like you just can't ever turn it off. It's like you just have to kind of follow the calling. So that just seems to be so common for the backstory of just like, I just couldn't do anything else.
That's exactly it. Exactly it.
Yeah.
And I knew that.
And the therapy is still there. Like, it's still, you're not trained in it, but you're still bringing that for people.
Yeah. And now I actually teach, like for my day job, I teach songwriting lessons.
I saw that. That's very cool.
Yeah, songwriting and mindfulness lessons. So it's kind of this idea of like learning an instrument through writing your own songs, and then also learning different mindfulness practices like meditation and other things to incorporate into your practice, kind of like calm the mind and get rid of any anxiety you may have about writing or performing, being a musician. So yeah, even though I didn't study music therapy, it's still very much a part of what I do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does the song This Love come in? Like, where does that get inspired and written?
That, I think I wrote my senior year of college. This was before I met Dani. And I remember like up until that point, I had been writing, I was very inspired by Regina Spektor, and like was into this kind of, I don't know, she doesn't really fit into a genre, but she's very much like singer-songwriter, quirky, weird vibes, and she's amazing. But yeah, I was kind of in that world, and I knew that the people who I was listening to in college were much more in like the soul, R&B, pop world. And so I remember just like wanting to step a little bit more into that, writing that song. I think I started it actually in like a cabin or something in upstate New York when I went away for a weekend. And
because Bard is in that upstate New York area where it's a beautiful area. And so I can see where that, is highly inspiring.
Yeah. And so I remember writing that, and I sent it to my brother, and he was like, "This is my favorite song you've ever written." And I was like, okay, then this is the one I'm going to record and release.
And then of course it has that classic story now of getting released, starting to get acclaim, and pandemic hits.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sucks. Like,
I
that's
was
got to be
thinking
like just deflating and scary, and you just get a moment of just, I don't know, just all the emotions.
I was thinking about that earlier actually, and how like, some people who put out music in 2020, I've seen their career like just grow dramatically because
Hmm.
they, I don't know, maybe they're like a little bit younger and more savvy with technology and social media, and they like really knew how to jump
Hmm.
on the opportunity of like everyone being in that space. Um, but what happened for us was actually very different in that like our world was turned upside down, and all of the sudden our jobs were remote and all the venues were closed, and we love live music so much that we were like, there's an opportunity here for us to go
Sure.
play music on the street for people
Yes.
because there's no live music. So instead of what some other people were doing was like really getting into the recording and putting out music and going on TikTok and social media, and like during that time I think we just saw this like really wonderful world of bringing live music to people in a new way.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us, busking, I mean, people have been busking and doing street performance for a very long time, but for
Of
us
course, but yeah, no.
that was new. Yeah.
And also, it was taking a not advantage. It was seizing the moment of you knew
Yeah.
people wanted it and you needed it to perform to get it out there. So from what I saw, like you were all through the mountains of North Carolina. You went to the Red Rocks in Colorado. You ended up in California for a little bit. So like there was like a really cool little. You did a national tour.
We did.
And I imagine this must be also where you meet Dani. So like where did this magic happen?
I met Dani like January, right, of 2020. We'll
Yeah.
say so, like right before the pandemic hit.
right
We
before it all
met
hit, yeah.
through something called Musikfest, which
Mhm.
you can probably speak to a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
these
more.
vocal improv workshops that I teach in Brooklyn.
Very
They're kind of like weekly musical playgrounds, like 10 people in a room improvising music together.
Mhm.
And Clover came.
Yeah, I came to one of the singing workshops and it was terrifying because
I can imagine, yeah.
like as someone who went to school for music and very much learned to like use their voice in a specific way for
Sure.
performance, like coming into this space where you needed to just like throw all that out the window and improvise and use your voice in new ways, it was like very scary for me.
Mhm.
But that was also a moment where one of the many moments in my life where I realized, oh, when you like go into that zone that's a little uncomfortable and like push past it, then there's so much growth. And
Mhm.
that's what happened there. And then I was like, this guy's cute too.
And then
And in the end,
and then in March, Dani went, or like, yeah, let's say in March, he went to Mexico before the pandemic hit.
right.
And we had been on a few amazing dates. And
Like playing basketball with someone named Destiny.
that's true. Which is now in a lyric of a song I played at Musikfest, but
Oh,
it's
very
not
cool.
released yet. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Few basketball dates. We love basketball.
Right. And now, so like if I get it right, so summer solstice being the birthday, that's June, right? So you're
June
kind of 3 months
2020.
into the pandemic. You're in that kind of
Yeah.
wooded community of people, and you're still creating. And then at some point, you say we got to go and busk and perform across the country. So that's how you kind of get through all that.
Right.
The one thing, so you have to go with me here because this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but trust me for a minute.
All right.
I think when people hear quote just a vocalist, it might be like, oh well, this is she's just a singer. Like it's not going to be. And the first thing that happens is you fill the stage with just simply the your voice. And also your energy and all that stuff, and then also the guitar and the beats and stuff. But the other element is the message that you're sharing is like you've got very deep stories to tell, and so one of them we wanted to kind of chat about here because this is kind of that song comes out around this time as well, is Roe v. Wade gets taken away, and you write a song called War on Women.
Mm-hmm.
And it being election day, I kind of wanted to have you speak to that topic because it's very much on the ballot here today as a topic, but also is a great song and it is a very important message to share. And then you said you might be able to even perform it tonight.
Yeah, we would love to perform it.
Cool. So what I'll do is I'll take Dan and I off the screen. You can talk about the song, and then if you want to just kind of lead that into the performance.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
If that works, let's do that. So
yeah.
Sounds
good.
Cool.
Do you get your guitar? Oh, and then we were going to do a little to make the sound. Should I do that?
Yeah.
What do I press? Boop, boop. Okay. So yeah, when Roe v. Wade got overturned, we were living in Hudson, New York at the time, and I felt incredibly defeated, very anxious, and like I needed to do something. And the obvious thing at first to me would be like to go to a protest, to do something like very physical. But I actually felt like I could maybe make more of an impact by turning to song and creating something that could bring people together to sing. And just to get, I thought, if I'm feeling this, other people must be feeling this. So yeah, I started to write this song, and I remember we had a house show, I think just a few days after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I wanted to finish the song to share at this event where we had a bunch of women in the audience. And I remember getting on stage and wanting to like keep it together and give this very professional performance. And I just started crying in front of everyone. But I feel like this is something to cry about. This is something to feel angry about. This is something to come together about. And so now this song exists. So hopefully we can do that.
Trying to dictate when life starts. I've got my intuition. You don't make my decisions. I know you want the power. Sovereignty, it's ours. Come try and take our rights. Don't think that we won't fight. You start a war on women. You know that we'll be winning. My God, feel the power like a lightning rod. When we get information and know our destination, together we're unstoppable. No matter what, 'cause we are strong. Oh, yeah, we are strong. My body isn't a playground. My body isn't a game. It's not something you can fuck around with. Aren't you ashamed? You feel the repercussions. You try to fan the flame. We'll fight back like a wildfire that can't be tamed. You start a war on women. You know that we'll be winning. My God, feel the power like a light. unstoppable no matter what, 'cause we are strong. Oh, yeah, we are strong. My body, my choice, my story, my voice, my body, my choice, my story, my voice, my body, my choice, my story, my voice, my body, my choice, my story, my voice. My voice. You start on women. You know that we'll be winning. Oh my God, feel the power like a running ride.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And powerful. I mean, like we talked about, I mean, it's such an important topic, and this is the time to make sure that that stuff is protected in whatever ways we can. So get out there and vote. Don't let those opportunities pass you by. But anyway, so this female empowerment, not the only thing that you're finding important. Another one is sustainability.
Sustainability.
Thank you for helping me through that one. But Dan, I know you wanted to talk
this
about
was something that jumped out of me in your bio and your press info, which I got this morning. But
that's my bad.
Well, there's a reason that you're in someone's Rolodex. But what really jumped out to me was that like you had gone and sort of, I guess the term we use now is like upcycling or something like that. But to take like, these clothes and then you were dyeing them naturally, like in the style, like through the practices that like, people in this world have been doing for hundreds, if not thousands of years. My partner is an art historian and also focuses on material culture. So these are things that while I'm certainly not an expert in, I have heard a lot about it. So you're hand dyeing t-shirts with natural plant materials, which it goes back, thousands of years as people creating clothing and making it, artistic and colorful. Did you know how to do any of this before you started doing it? Or was it just like, well, no one else is going to make the merch for me, I guess I might as well make it myself?
Yeah, that's super cool that your wife's an art historian. And I did not know how to do any of this before I started making this merch. This was all new to me, but I definitely I was struggling with, I wanted to make merch. Making merch is fun, and the fans love it, but I felt so conflicted. Like we all already have t-shirts. We have enough t-shirts. Like but people want t-shirts. So I'm like, how can I do this in a way that feels good? And this was all happening while we were on the road also. So I was like, we were in places I'd never been before. I would stop at a thrift store like a Goodwill. I would find white t-shirts, and then I learned to make my own screen for printing, which was also wild to do that like while in a new home every few, like weeks or something. I remember like finding a closet in this apartment we were renting, and that was where like I put the screen to like be in the dark, and it was just so like such a DIY way of doing things. But yeah, so I made my own screen. And then with the plant dye, we actually have a really good friend who lives in upstate New York, and her company is called Hanooks, and she does incredible plant dyeing. So I kind of like turned
Shout
to
out
her.
to Hanooks.
Yeah, Hanooks. Yeah, shout out Hanooks. I turned to her for inspiration of like how I could do this. And then I did a lot of the dyeing while we were in California, which was amazing because we had an abundance of avocados and pomegranates like just outside our door. So I would go and collect them and then dye the shirts with them.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And speaking back to like what Phil and I were talking about in the beginning of the show about our trip to Japan, one of the things that played a large role in my trip was visiting these indigo dye studios with my partner. So we had a little work to do over there as well, and just being blown away at the amount of work and care and expertise. You're a scientist. It's chemistry. But you're also doing it to make t-shirts. And I do like the idea that you're like, what am I going to do? Like call up another t-shirt printer and get another 100 of these made, which no one will buy because they look like everyone else's t-shirts. Like I'm sure you've had such greater success, not just in like moving the units, but in like having that connection between you and the thing you make. And then the person who it's just like, well, this isn't just something that you order and are selling to me at a markup. Like you made a work of art and you're selling it to them. Yeah.
There is one funny story of like a t-shirt that I made, not one of the plant dyed ones, but one that I did like draw and design by hand and then have someone else print. I received a photo from one of my students' parents of like one of my t-shirts and this random person wearing it. And I didn't know them. I didn't recognize them from a show. They asked them, they were like, where'd you get that t-shirt? They're like, oh, I bought it at Beacon's Closet in Brooklyn. So like someone did get one of my t-shirts and they're like, oh, I don't want this anymore. I'm going to give it to the thrift store. And now like random people are buying my shirts from Beacon's Closet.
At least it got recycled.
It's out there in the world. That person likes it. That person is wearing it.
I mean, Beacon's Closet is like they reject 95% of people's clothes.
Oh, even better.
Also true.
It's like a vintage shop that is quite selective. So the fact that it got in and sold in Beacon's Closet means
you should just start making more and just sneaking them in the back.
Right, just send them to Beacon's Closet.
Right,
one or two at a time.
I'm also now a fashion designer. Add that to the resume. So, do you know the organization Music Declares Emergency?
No, I don't.
It's a British-based company, so it's not British. It's international, really. But like, it's basically trying to declare, the climate emergency and getting the music industry to kind of say there's sustainable ways to print vinyl. There's sustainable ways to print T-shirts. So like you should check in with that organization.
Yeah.
And just see, first of all, they're super awesome to get to familiar with. But secondly, they might have either advice or different ways that you can also explore that to keep it sustainable.
Thank you. That's
That's
very helpful. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, at a certain point after that merch, it became hard to hand print and dye every.
It's a lot of work.
It's a whole other job that you can on top of writing songs, performing them, touring, driving the van, doing the booking, the website, the social media, the content creation. And on top of that, you're an artisan bespoke clothing maker. It's just like sometimes you're just like, look, DIY is fun, but
exactly.
So the female empowerment and sustainability you are inspired to speak to because it's the world you're living in, and you see issues and you want to speak to them and see a change happen. Another topic that you are, inspired by is one that was thrust upon you, and your parents tragically had passed away very closely apart. What was it, a month apart?
Yeah, less than 2 months apart.
Less than 2 months apart. So first of all, sorry that happened, but you turned to music and songwriting and being vulnerable about it to work through, the process. And I just wanted to give you a moment to speak to that, because I know it's important for you to kind of have that as an outreach as well, because a lot of people are in that same place. And so one thing we always want to do on this show is help somebody maybe not so feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, turning to being vulnerable and sharing about my personal experience in general with my songwriting is like kind of that's like my mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely still processing the grief and will continue to be vulnerable. Sometimes it's like more clear about what I want to share, and other times I'm just like literally feeling it and there's nothing to say or share in that moment. But I do feel like this is something that before this experience, I hadn't lost anyone. And so I had like no framework for
no point of reference.
Yeah,
That's gotta be tough.
No point of reference for how you continue to exist and like move throughout the world when you experience something like this. So I don't know, it just felt so powerful to document my experience from the beginning. And also in some ways it felt I really struggle with figuring out which words to use, but it felt very spiritual, I guess,
Sure.
to not have a point of reference and really just be feeling
in that moment.
Yeah, just be feeling exactly what is coming through my body and my experience, and not be like, oh, but that person said that like grief works like this, so I'm experiencing this, you know? Yeah. So at one point someone did say to me, like I was feeling angry, and they're like, oh, you're feeling anger, so you're at this, like there are like 7 stages of grief.
Good luck following that roadmap, It's
right. And I'm like, that's just not for me.
The best way I ever heard it described was that grief is like this boulder that lands on top of you, and at times it'll shrink and at times it'll get bigger, but it's never gonna go away. And so at best it's this pebble in your pocket that you pick up one day and go, oh, that's right, that really awful thing happened to me, but it's never gone. And it's crippling at times, but at other times it's just something you carry with you.
Yeah. And the other thing that you learned, you said not having a context, but like grief and loss is like one of the most universal things that all of us as human beings will experience, have experienced, are going to experience. So it's always interesting to me why anyone would ever go to anyone and say like, oh, well, it moves in this linear fashion, other than it's just a way for someone who's otherwise, absolutely floored by the situation. As human beings, we need to make patterns out of things, or else like our heads would explode.
Correct.
So yeah, but I think about that more and more, that it can be one of the most unifying experiences for those of us who are still here, because it has happened, will happen, is going to happen to every single one of us. So yeah.
And there's a wonderful video for people to check out. It's about 17 minutes long on your YouTube channel. But it is worth a watch, especially if this is something that you're managing or working through, that I think it's something that could really help. So I commend you for the vulnerability on that, and for sharing today. It takes courage to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's never an easy way to just transition out of that stuff. So
we'll just come right out the other side.
So how was Musikfest?
Oh my gosh. I'm still on a high from Musikfest.
You were on like the best stage on some of the most beautiful weather. and you were having such a great time, the two of you out there.
Yeah.
And we do have a clip here of the song Atlas to share, but why don't you talk a little bit more about it before I bring that up? I figured that was a good one to play after all this too, because it's a super fun, upbeat song. So tell us more about your experience with Musikfest.
Well, we did not know that our stage was going to be so amazing. So we definitely, when we showed up, we were like, what? We get to play on that stage, and the background is just like so stunning and beautiful.
Yeah.
It felt really, really magical. Yeah, how was it?
It was
for you,
surreal.
Danny?
It was surreal. Yeah. I mean, it made me want to get on more stages, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Just feeling sound that big and like the air of like being kind of in this exposed space and hearing your music that loud. It's unique. It was really, really cool. It was I think it was like a big kind of like, wow, we're here. First of many.
It's a validation moment of
definitely a validation moment. And it was incredible. Great people were there. It was a great vibe. It felt like a really like supportive space to bring our festival life into fruition.
Yeah. So let's bring it up here. It's a song called Atlas. It's not yet released, right? It's going to be something that's forthcoming.
Yeah, it'll be on the upcoming album.
So we'll let it play here for a little bit, and then we'll lower it down, and you can speak to some of that upcoming music. So here's Atlas by Clover.
Woo!
Those festival moments where people just crawl right in front of you.
That sounds good.
Yeah, you do.
My hands are shaking. I can't feel the ground. I'm useless. I can't hold it like you
And these moves that you're busting out, as you are right now too, in these like Doc Marten boots, I was like, holy smokes, that is not easy to do.
Oh, there's the umbrella. There comes the
I
umbrella.
was curious where the umbrella came from, or what was going to be done with it.
Right.
It's a very Mummers moment right there. Yeah.
You can't put a prop like that on stage and then not utilize it.
The umbrella.
But so from my perspective, again, like having heard your recorded music, then I know there's this moment where this is the stage, and I'm gonna be recording some things specifically because we had already chatted about having you on the show. So I was like, oh, let me capture some stuff to play. And then this song comes on, and I'm like, how lucky am I? Like it's like 5 p.m, perfect weather, August. This music is perfect. I got a beer in my hand, and I was just like, who's got a better life than this? So it was just so magical moment. It was a Musikfest magic moment.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I also want to say that you did not do this on purpose, but this actually is a perfect bridge between the conversation we were having before and getting into the music, because this song is actually about my dad.
Oh, very cool.
And it's like one of the songs where I knew that the topic was very heavy, but I wanted it to be dancey and feel light. So I'm glad that it did exactly that. And you felt the dance vibes.
Yeah.
It's a really fun one to perform live.
Clearly. I mean, again, this is what I talked about before, is I feel like some people could say, oh, just a vocalist and just a guitarist, should I even bother? And the answer is not only 100% yes, but like it fills the stage. I mean, that's not easy to do.
Yeah. Like sonically too, because like you can get kind of trapped with sort of like, for lack of a better term, canned drums. Like there's only so many things you can do with a recording because it's it's permanent. Like you have to either turn it up or turn it down. But remarkable depth of sound right there, just with pre-recorded backing track. Your guitar sounds outstanding.
I had no idea
that your guitar sounded outstanding.
No, it's just like it was so like I feel like the sound up there was really loud, and it was I think it sounded better. Like I was really good to watch that for me because it sounded better in that video recording than it did to me on stage. Although I remember having a lot of fun playing that song.
So I was the sound engineer is like halfway back in the audience there, and that's about where I was. So he must have. So it's a weird space, but it's good because you have these concrete buildings. What you don't see from the shot that I did is actually the Bethlehem Public Library from 11 Fest earlier today is on the right side of that stage, and like our city hall is on the left. So it creates a very good echo, not a bad one. It's a very good kind of like sound bouncing situation.
That's cool.
And you can see there, and that's again like we always talk about it. That's just the iPhone. It gets such good video. It's unbelievable.
The video. I was supposed to say, you recorded that on the iPhone? That's
and
amazing.
The audio and video, just the iPhone.
Wait, really?
That's it. People always ask me, did I have access to the soundboard? The answer is always no.
Yeah.
Like even the artists, when I say I'm going to play from Musikfest, they're like, well, can I listen to it first? And then they're always like, oh, you must have been in the soundboard. I'm like, no, that's just that camera and that speaker. It's it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It does some nice compression actually.
Yeah, you do have to be very cautious of where you are from the speakers. Like you do have to I have to make a conscious decision of positioning myself where it's going to capture it well. But as long as you do that, it does a phenomenal job all on its own.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
I want to get a copy of that video, man. I gotta. We were dancing. We were dancing so hard here that Clover spilled her whole tea over on the floor.
I know. I've been like quietly trying to like clean up this tea that I spilled all over.
We got that, and we also have High Speed Chase from that day. And I put that out on Reels today. So if people want to check that out, it's on the Instagram feed. So there's also other new music that just got released around the Halloween release of the song Spooky, which was perfect. And so that was another one you were going to perform today, right?
Yeah, Danny, let's do it.
Yeah. And then so again, we'll come off screen, and what you can do is give a little bit of backstory on there and then let her rip.
All right. Sounds good. All right, I'll talk while you get that set up. So Spooky is a song that I wrote that was inspired by my very eccentric upbringing. Both my parents were artists, and our home was always filled with, like I said earlier, strange music. We had lots of pets. At one point, we had pet ducks. We had dogs, cats, an African bullfrog. It was just like really this whimsical home. So I wanted to write this song about that experience, and also how I feel like all of that made me the witchy woman I am today. So this song is called Spooky. Born in a basket to shopkeepers and mystical things. Disco balls, waterfalls, mantras and winds. More comfortable with your feet in the dirt, running around topless. Who needs a shirt anyway? She was taught to question every lesson in the book. Laugh big, live proud, be loud, and dance like no one's looking now. She's a witch in the wind, riding on a piece of patriarchy. She dismantles within, nobody suspects a thing. She casts spells in her songs and puts them up on streaming platforms, so you can all sing along and manifest your destiny.
sky, honoring the summer and the death of the fireflies. La da 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 da, la da. Trick or treat, she's a freak. Light language in her sleep. What's she throwing in the tea? Affirmations on repeat, like I'm a fucking goddess. There's nothing that can stop me. She will start to question every lesson in the book. Love big, live proud, be loud, and dance like no one's looking now. She's a witch in the wind, riding on a piece of patriarchy. She dismantles within, nobody suspects a thing. She casts spells in a song and puts them up on streaming platforms, so you can all sing along and manifest your destiny. She don't need her knowing to get spooky. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. She don't need Halloween to get spooky.
Awesome. I love that song.
Thank you.
So cool. Well, thank you so much for playing. Everything sounded so great. You guys sounded awesome.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
had a great
one thing,
time.
yeah, in relation to that song today, in fact, on Instagram, you had posted this new image that you have back to the merch conversation, and it speaks to the witchiness that you were talking about. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
And you were putting it out there to take kind of like feedback from your fans, what to do with the image. So did the people want to see it on bags or T-shirts or whatever? So people who are so inclined, go to at Clover on the mic, right?
That's right.
You can follow on Instagram, and then right now you have the ability to kind of submit your idea on where that should go. So you want to hear my idea?
What's your idea? Yeah,
I think it should go on like the cover of a journal, like to have it as
like a book of spells.
That's right. So people could use it for that, or for journaling, or for songwriting, lyric writing, poetry.
Oh,
I
love
thought that would be
idea.
a very cool way to do it.
That's such a good idea. Thank you for sharing that.
I think
I
it would
love
look
that
good.
idea.
I think it would look good on a slip mat for a turntable as well.
Yeah,
the thing you put on your
Wow.
record. And I say this as a sometime vinyl DJ. I'm always into interesting slip mats that I can bring with me and put down, and no one sees them but me.
But it feels good. I can see that.
Absolutely.
It's like having cool socks on that no one else can see.
Right.
Just like, I know
It's
what's
self-care.
going on with these
It's self-care,
socks.
Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So one last topic I wanted to ask about was you have a great selection on the YouTube channel of covers, and so you don't play the classic covers. You play some very cool ones. So even if it is a well-known artist, it's a not well-known track. So Dan, in particular, you wanted to speak to
Oh,
to
absolutely.
Hendrix. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to speak to the Hendrix cover because it's absolutely amazing. I'm like a deep dive Hendrix guy, and I have been like. It's interesting. Everyone listens to Jimi Hendrix. Everyone has heard Jimi Hendrix and probably even been moved in some way by Jimi Hendrix. But like to really dive in, especially Axis Bold Love as an album, and to pick Little Wing, which is like a nearly forgotten tune of his. It's not a banger. It's not it doesn't rip. But it's one of my favorite Hendrix songs ever. And your particular treatment of it, like just it took that slightly more like relaxed vibe that he was going for in the studio, and you really just broadened it out. I was curious, like, did you come up like a deep dive Hendrix fan too? Did you just pick this song because you liked how it sounded?
Danny is the deep dive Hendrix fan
Yeah.
here. And this is a song that you would play often.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is my favorite Hendrix song, and I grew up loving.
Yeah.
Like I think Hendrix was like my first and still guitar hero.
Yeah.
So I played it a lot, and then
Yeah.
I wanted us to play it.
I don't know. I can't.
I wanted us to
remember.
play it and for like at shows and stuff, and then you like
Well,
took it and
then I stole it. No.
Good.
it's not bad. Yeah.
I mean, I also when he started playing this song, I always loved it and wanted to sing it. And we were at our producer's house, and I kind of mentioned that I thought it would be cool to do a Hendrix cover and put it on the upcoming album. And at the time we were just like, okay, what could it be? And I threw out Little Wing, not ever having actually really played it before.
Yeah.
And we're at his house, and he has this upright piano, and I was just like, let me just try it. And then that is the version that you're hearing. So I think the reason why it went in the direction it did was because I had never played it before. And I was like, I was just doing my version, you know, I was like, yeah, it was so much fun. And I really love how it turned out. Yeah.
It came out great. And I'm always I'm a big fan of covers. I always have been, always will be. And I really like when someone takes something lesser known, and especially like a song like that for him is a decidedly like kind of non-Hendrix sort of tune for him to do. And that whole record that it comes off of, like everyone holds up Electric Ladyland, everyone holds up Band of Gypsies. No one talks much about Axis Bold to Love because it's really out there. And like for you to pick that tune, like I just like, and I discovered it this morning, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. You really like that song has a lot of space in it already. And you pulled at it just the right way. Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good work making a good song.
Did it.
Yeah, that is awesome. So yeah, so the handle Clover on the mic is important for people to take from this. So whether that's the YouTube channel, the Instagram, or the webpage. So I'm going to start bringing up your website here. It's cloveronthemic.com. And then you can link to just about everything. There's the grief journey. There's spooky ways to listen and watch that stuff. You have a Patreon. I always want to mention that so that in case people want to get involved with the Patreon to support you, there's ways to do that. $3 a month, not too much to ask. But all the links here to the socials, to Bandcamp, and all ways to stream, and the contact, the bio, and then here was the merch we were talking about. So anyway, mainly wanted to kind of just bring this all out so that you could kind of promote whatever here you would want to do in addition to this. So what else can we promote for you?
Good question. Well, I did just put out a music video for Spooky that's on YouTube. That is super cool because it actually was all filmed on the iPhone, like we were talking about.
Right.
And we were just in Europe, so the whole video is filmed in Scotland and Iceland. So it's just a very cool video to check out.
Yeah.
Clover did the full edit on her own. Quite impressive.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
Very, very funny video.
Yeah. It is. It is a good watch.
Everything's being done in house. You're editing.
Yeah, we are doing it all over
True
here.
DIY.
Yep. It's exhausting, isn't it?
It's exhausting, and it's so much fun.
Exactly. At least the exhaustion, you don't feel hit over the head like you worked for someone else, because you're working for yourself and you're making your own thing. And
that's right.
All the labor is towards something greater than you. No, it's awesome. I think it's great that you both like do so much in this project.
Yeah,
we love it.
I, for one, can't wait to see you perform live again. So I can't wait to see that. Hopefully there's some, either winter or spring shows that'll get announced, and I can't wait to see that all happen. And all the new music that'll be coming out soon. We were able to tease a few of them today, so my heart is full. Clover, Dani, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a joy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Dan Drago, I owe you a massive thank you as well.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
These are always better. No one wants to hear me blather on as a solo mission. So, when David had given me the heads up that he wasn't able to join tonight, I was like, who can I ask? And Dan Drago is a very easy top of the list. So.
Who has a bizarre studio in his basement too,
and is down for this at the drop of a hat. But
no, it was you're fortunate you caught me on an evening where I was like, I'm actually not interviewing anyone, nor am I running away anywhere. Last night I was at Union Transfer, checking
That's
out
right. Tortoise,
going to see Tortoise, which was just mind blowing. I've been a fan of theirs for years, and I've never seen them. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
Great
venue, great band.
Oh yeah. But this was great too. I was not familiar with Clover. You had mentioned her before to me, perhaps in the ramp up of some Musikfest related madness that
I'm
you were cooking up. But I didn't get a chance to listen to her back in the summer when you probably mentioned her. So this morning I just sort of it was sort of a crash course, a Clover crash course. And it was great. And like I said, I discovered that Hendrix cover, and I always feel weird sort of like, I don't want to like focus too much on a cover especially for an original band, but like they really, like anyone out there who's a Hendrix fan, especially like an Axis Bold as Love fan, like you have to go listen to her rendition of Little Wing. It's remarkable. It really is. And I will stop harping on the cover right now, but it was really such a cool track.
That's right. And actually, I just here we got a comment here from Nate of That's My John. He said, all my pals are palin'. Yes, we are, Nate, and we previewed the top 885 songs, but we didn't go into anything. We just kind of teased it, and hopefully we can get the three of us on a triple crossover episode in December.
Three screens, no waiting.
Yeah, and that list will start getting out there. I think December 5th. I think they said something like that. And they're going to go from 885 down to 1. Yeah. And in the midst of that, we'll sit there and say,
weeks to
we should wager like $5 each to see who has the most at the highest numbers. I guess it would be the lowest numbers. Anyway, we'll figure that part out and get a good.
We should come up with some kind of pool. That'd be
to see who wins. But what else did we learn today, Dan?
We learned all kinds of things. I learned that it was very interesting to talk with her about the actual materials of making your own band merchandise, because it's something just like all clothing and stuff that we tend to think of in this country, in this age that we live in. It seems so entirely either completely on demand and disposable at the same time. So for her to like go through the care of taking something, making it into something else, like I said, you're not just buying a T-shirt, you're buying a piece of art, you're buying a craft, like something that someone made, speaks more to the old ways than the new ways. And like I said, I've gotten sort of a crash course in natural dyeing over the last few weeks, and it was just cool to like learn that about her. And I was like, it's so neat. Like, it's really special. Like there's a connection between like someone who buys like a shirt from her that she made. It's way deeper than like I designed it and had it printed, but like it's totally different. Like
all available at the that Beacon thrift shop in Brooklyn, New York. They specialize in cloverware. But that's what I learned. And I also just learned once again about the beauty and magic of music to be a healing and universal communication source. I just thought all of that was amazing. That the incredibly big and heavy topics that she manages to then also sound so beautiful and so, whatever she wants it to. It's either light and airy and dancey, even though it's heavy, or a little bit deeper, because that's the important part there. It's really, really magical.
Yeah, and we didn't go down the rabbit hole too much with her on the song Atlas, but like I imagine if the meta, and she could probably chime in on this later, if the metaphor is like Atlas, the guy who had the world literally on his shoulders, like, and then to take, that was what I thought there. And she said it was about her father, so I was like, okay. I'm like,
she's giving you a giant thumbs up right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, where is she?
You nailed it.
Her. I can't. Okay,
I can see her in the virtual green room.
I imagined, and we just didn't get time to go down that particular pursuit right there. But when she said it was about my father, it's called Atlas, and I was like, well, based on metaphor and literature, like I think I have an idea what the song is about. But but then to make it light and airy, the idea of the song about Atlas also being light and airy is very interesting to me.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We would like to thank both Clover on the mic. Make sure you remember that for the socials and for the website. Clover and Dani Sundream for joining us today and sharing those incredibly important and deep stories, as well as playing 2 songs that sounded incredible, and sharing the other music that we had captured from Musikfest and off of their YouTube channel. Don't forget to stay tuned after these credits to catch This Love, which is a wonderful, wonderful song, and it was what really kind of launched her career. There will be links in the show notes to many, many of the different things we referenced here. In addition to all the socials and the website, we're going to try and link to things like the video about the grief and some of the other different links that have come up during this show and the various topics that we touched upon. So please check them out, follow and like and subscribe. And as always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you tuned in tonight because you already knew Clover, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed things and might consider liking and subscribing and following us so that we can bring you your next favorite band in a future episode. All of our prior episodes are available at nextfaveband.com as well as on our YouTube channel. And you might have your next fave band already available to you out there, so you can check out our historical interviews. We have some great stuff coming up here for the rest of the season, and hope to see you at a live show soon. And now here is This Love by Clover.
The best kind of love that you can share with someone, a friend, lover, partner, all the above, is one that sees your soul and can't help but embrace it, even the rough and ragged parts. It's the kind of love that challenges you and empowers you to embrace you too. And that kind of love is straight up magic.
Walking a tightrope, eyes blindfolded in the black of the night, boy. Got your hands gripping the rope, don't leave me no slack, no. Hold it tight, boy. This love, this love. Started catching myself in my glances, longing to linger on you. Body gravitate to your dancing from across the room. This love, this love. I didn't see it coming, and I'm glad I did. 'Cause baby, what's the fun in knowing how it is? I didn't see it coming. I'll be making that sound, sound, sound. This love.